everybody, how's it going? Dan Shinder here on Drum Talk TV, coming to you from Globe, Arizona, 100 miles east of Phoenix, up in elevation, away from the heat to some degree, no pun intended. And my guest today is Marco Minnemann, coming from an undisclosed location in Southern California, near a lake. We won't say which one. How are you, Marco?
I'm doing very well. Good to be back and great to see you again. You know, we've done this now quite a bit, and I love it. Always good to see you and always good to chat. It's the third time or fourth time even, right?
Fourth time. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'm so excited about our topic today, the long-awaited live album from the Aristocrats. They finally got it right, folks.
That's right.
That's
the pandemic enabled us to do that. Oh my God.
Yeah, let's talk about how it came about. And folks, we're going to play some excerpts from it as well. It's a fantastic album. The production is awesome. You know, production in a studio is one thing, Marco. You expect that. But the production of a live album, when that sounds great, is like a whole other magical feat, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we were like really lucky to having our sound guy with us, who's fantastic, Dimitris Karpousas. He's from Greece. That's his name, and he makes actually many good productions. He has a great studio at his home, and lovely guy. And we recorded, pretty much all of the shows, in Europe, and we record a lot of shows actually with Kip, our engineer here in the States as well. But for some reason, in Europe, we sounded really locked, and we had like our own cool sound system with us, and for some reason, we kind of went through, not for some reason, for a particular reason, we went through all the tapes or files we recorded, and when the tour got cut short, obviously, because of the pandemic that we were in, we thought we might kind of browse earlier than expected and kind of find great performances that we personally handpicked and liked from the shows, and and there were like a few that sounded good and that felt right, and so we decided to give the fans who had to wait a little longer, and from Japan, or actually all over Asia and Southeast Asia, and then also Latin America, to give them like a little bit of a view of how the tour sounded like, and also kind of a present to the people who have already seen us on the tour, So we're very pleased, with the outcome. It sounds good, and thank you also for liking it. And I remember like listening back to the recordings. It's always kind of a bad thing usually to do that, because you don't want to be confronted with like listening to your own shit you played. It's like your mind always goes right into detail and go like, okay, was it all right? And that's how it usually rolls. And I listened back to it, hesitantly. He's like, oh God, I gotta approve it and listen to it and see how it sounds like. And I was like, having really joy with it. I was like, wait a minute, we're actually not that bad of a band. It sounds actually pretty good. so we're very pleased. We're very pleased with it.
Did Brian and Guthrie share the same sentiment about the experience of listening back? That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Otherwise we wouldn't have released it. We're all, all the three of us pretty OCD when it comes to these things. Go like, no. Once we release something, it's gotta be as good as we like it to be,
Yeah, that's cool. And the album's called Freeze. Where did the name come from?
It's actually from a song which is called Bonnie and Clyde from our last album.
Right. And
it's Brian's story about. It's one of his songs, and it's Brian's story about these two people who robbed, unfortunately, well, now we can laugh about because it's all resolved, but a few years ago, his bass guitars were stolen. But they caught these guys, and he witnessed these guys at a storage locker while they were trying to deposit, or kind of, they knew where they had their storage locker, and the police found them, and Brian was there as well. And he witnessed how they kind of caught them and said like, freeze.
Wow.
And that became the thing. And it became also the story of that song during the announcements. It was always like, freeze. And then obviously when the pandemic stopped, it couldn't be a better title to go like, freeze. Everything is on hold right now as well, since, touring stopped and whatnot. So yeah, we've decided to kind of name the album after that incident. And
That's perfect.
Double meaning, so to speak.
That's great. Let's give everybody a sample of that song, since that's what we just spoke about. This is a sample. I'm not going to play the whole song, folks. You got to get the album, and this will inspire you, I'm sure. Get the album, Freeze, and this is the Ballad of Bonnie and Clyde. Check some of this out. Like I said, the production on this is really, really well. Slightly off topic, what is one of your first albums you ever heard, Marco, that you were really blown away by the live production?
By the live production. So a live album that I really like, basically.
Yeah, where the production really was like, whoa, this stands out from any other live album I've heard of.
Oh my, oh my, oh my. There must be a few of those. I really enjoyed Frank Zappa's live albums. The Best Band You Never Heard in Your Life, that's one of them. And the second part is called Make a Jazz Noise Here. And especially CD2 of that album is great. The production sounds wonderful and the band sounds fantastic. So that is a great live album, I think. If I go way back to my childhood, and strangely enough, I've been revisiting some of that stuff recently. I remember vividly when I was only 5 years old, believe it or not, when Kiss released. Oh. I must have been 4 years old. I must have been 4 years old when Alive 2 came out. Remember Alive 1, not the first one, Alive.
Yeah.
That was like 75. Yeah, I was like 4 years old. But I think when somebody brought it over to our house and listened to and we listened to it, was I really 4 years old? But I remember that vividly. All of a sudden, this album was sitting there, and these people with the masks on and all this kind of stuff, right? Kiss, And then I heard the album, and it was rock and roll. It was cool, and with all this audience and what in it, I thought like, this is awesome. So I was so much into it, that the guy who brought the album over left it there for me, which was very sweet. And I was like, oh, cool. And so obviously that was like, and even I know, that album was probably re-recorded. There are some production details that the band members themselves talked about, so obviously, that's the thing, you do overdubs and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah.
But that was like a first live album experience. Obviously one of the really staples live albums, and I had a chance to talk with one of the guys from the band, Ian Pace, that is from Deep Purple. I met him a few times, and was obviously made in Japan. That's classic live albums.
Yeah.
Right?
So the sound's amazing considering when it was recorded and the gear they had and all of that. It's an amazing performance, an amazing recording.
Absolutely. They were recording that album. I think it was recorded by the local broadcast company, and they just bought the tapes off of the production for like $3,000 or something like that. And look what it became,
Yeah. And I love in between, I don't remember which two songs, but in between two of the songs, you hear Ian Gillan say, turn everything up louder than everything else. And that's how it was back then. Though I agree with all those. Two of my favorites as far as live production albums are, and the first one I recall, I was 12 or 13 when Frampton Comes Alive came out.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
That's a really clean album in a big arena. And my other one is always going to be one of my favorites for so many reasons. The song remains the same, just kicks ass in every way,
Have you heard the remixed version, the new version?
I have, yeah.
It's good.
It is really good, yeah. That's one of those things where, to me, the vinyl still just sounds so warm and with all that punch. I wore those grooves out to the other side. I don't know how many times I had to rebuy that thing.
And that brings me to, what another live album is I really enjoy is Queen Life Killers. Have you ever heard that?
Wow. Oh yeah. That's a great album. Absolutely.
So cool. So wow.
Now
we
let's
get
talk
into
about,
the rabbit hole.
how about the Aristocrats live album? Let's talk about that. I want to ask you about this track. This is such a great way to open the album. This is, a lot of people don't know this, but this was Marco's nickname in high school. It's D-grade fuck move jam. Now, was that also going to be your rapper name or your DJ name?
That has nothing to do with me, that song.
I know.
I know. But I like that. Yeah, that's actually that's a song of Brian's actually as well. So we all have two songs. Each of us have two songs in that one. That's the opener. Yeah, D-grade fuck movie jam. That was tied actually to a critic. I forgot where he was. I think in Raleigh somewhere in North Carolina, right? In Raleigh, right?
Yeah.
And and this guy, see, reviews don't really get to me. I don't care. It's like most of our fans, and most of the reviewers like our stuff, and I'm fine with it. There would be always someone who has like, a bad day or doesn't like it for some reason. Yeah. I can laugh about this. Sometimes this happens. And that was one of them. And I wouldn't even have kind of seen it, like it was Brian who brought it in. Brian still, kind of reads this and kind of gets into this, and I go like, come on, fuck that, whatever, But he go but it was kind of almost like more in a funny way. He kind of reads it and goes like, oh, this guy kind of he looked into the local, papers or went online, what bands are in town on the weekend.
Yeah.
And he goes like, oh, the Aristocrats are coming to town. And then he kind of goes like, oh, well, should I really go there? Like, with their kind of, instrument wanking kind of stuff and blah, 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 watching their kind of D-grade fuck movie jams or something like that, right? And he goes like, hell no, I got better things to do, this kind of stuff, right? And so we were laughing about it. I was like, but Brian actually, even though he was laughing about it and used it for a song title, it kind of, he said like, as soon as we went to Raleigh in North Carolina, we played that town. And he said already a few weeks before, he goes like, oh, we're playing in Raleigh, that day. He goes like, can't wait to get there. And so sure enough, he made actually an announcement and called the guy out.
Oh, wonderful. Awesome.
It was so funny, but my, oh my, yeah, but that's how that song title came to be.
Well, let's give everybody a sample of that. This is D-grade bleep move jam. Check this out. Great opening track for this live album. Freeze by the Aristocrats. Check it out. So the next song is very much in the spirit of a lot of the music, a lot of the same music you and I like, and a lot of the same music you and I grew up with, which are typically non-airplay songs that are longer, epics and whatnot. This is, looking at it here, it's 18 minutes and 54 seconds of pure musical fun. And it's called Get It Like That, and is dedicated to the brilliant lyricist Neil Peart, which is weird because there's no lyrics in this song. Well, Neil also played a little bit of drums as well.
Oh, did he?
And there's a wonderful feature of Marco in this, and there's also a cameo of something that you folks will recognize. I'm not going to play it as part of the excerpt, and I'm not going to give it away. You'll have to get it and be surprised. But this is a cool track. I still love longer music. I love songs that are a side long of an album. For you boys and girls, there were these flat vinyl. Oh, forget it. Anyways, talk about that song and is it where does it rank in your songs that I know you're not supposed to pick favorite children, but in the course of a show, is this one of the ones you look forward to the most, or do you dread it because it is what it is? Where does it sit for you?
No. Well, we do actually. All of us look forward to get it like that. I think I can speak of all of our behalves. Because it's a song that is, and not only because I wrote it, but but it's actually, it has a lot. It sounds different every night. It has a lot of parts where you can express yourself freely, a lot of dynamics, and we take it every day into different directions. Right. So it is a fantastic playground, for especially kind of somewhere in the middle of the set. That's usually where that song happens, and it has a lot of humorous aspects as well. And I would usually conduct that song because I'm the writer then, and kind of go like, cool, let's go this part, let's go that part, and right. And there's also a drum solo in it, and but there's also like fun parts in it where we use the pigs and chickens sometimes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And but it also is like a catchy tune, like it's something you can really sing along with, and a lot of people do that when we play live, which is actually really heartwarming. You go like, oh wow, and it's not an easy song, but they sing the melody along. That means they fucking know it, which is so beautiful, to kind of see like that somehow your music touched people around the world, so I think that's a beautiful thing,
That's got to be one of the highest compliments and forms of gratification of a musical artist, is when you're hearing your music come back to you while you're performing it from the audience.
It's crazy because you don't think about it that way, because you write it, and then all that matters is, do you like the song, and then do the band members and then also your followers and fans like the song. So that's obviously then that whole thing is accomplished and kind of achieved, but hearing that people kind of really know the song and sing it along, that's cool. That means they really like the albums or the song and listen to it and absorb it and kind of integrate it into their life or something. That's beautiful. That's like something deep about it.
Yeah, let's give them a sample of that. Check this out, folks. This is the long epic featuring the most important part of the band, the drums. Check this out. Okay, so that's awesome. Let's talk gear, because the drums sound so good. All the instruments sound so good on the recording. I know some drummers are out there. They totally want to geek out on gear, and they want to know, what are you using? Is the snare alloy or wood? What heads are you using? I want to know about the cowbell that you're using.
Yeah, right.
And I want to know if enough painstaking time went into selecting the right cowbell as it did for that rubber pig that you used to play as a practice tool in the bed of the hotel room in that one video. Tell us about the cowbell first.
We do have, we kind of, took joy in kind of counting the song in with the cowbell, like one of the songs. I think it was D Great Fuck Movie Jam. So that's how it started off.
Yeah.
And so we didn't really have I don't really have a cowbell. I think I still to this day, maybe in some of my cases with percussion shit, maybe I have a cowbell somewhere, but I don't really care so much about it, but maybe exactly for that reason, it became like a running joke, and, and obviously the more cowbell thing, that's, way overdone, I know, but and so every day we would kind of go into a store if we had to travel, by plane and kind of go to an island where they didn't have, where we couldn't take our own gear with us. And then we would go to a store or from someone who brought a cowbell and would use the cowbell like randomly. But at some point we kind of did take it with us on the road then, where we go like, okay, this becomes an integrated part. And so, every time we would travel stationary, like on the road, with our trucks or stuff, the vans, then we would take it with us. So it was just a random joke, and I would kind of let my my drum tech actually play the cowbell. I would every time I would kind of hold the cowbell. We would announce him, Emilio is his name, and we're like, okay, Emilio, come here. Like, and I would kind of, make like a signs with my hand, like how many hits, until the next part comes. 5 or 10 or 15. We had to kind of, hold the cowbell there.
It's hilarious.
Funny. It becomes like, this joyous, moment on stage, and one of the many joyous moments, where we kind of just, fuck around. And
that's great. You got to have fun. How about the drum heads that you're using? What are you using on that recording, Marco?
You know what? I don't even know. It's usually, I think I use like G2s on the toms, usually clears or coated. I don't mind.
The Evans, yeah.
Or what I tried lately, what I'm really getting great results are the UV2s, the Evans UV2 drum heads. Man, they sound great. And then on the snare drum, I use actually an ST, the regular ST head, and an EMAT on the kick drum,
right?
Where I take like, pretty much all the foam out and just use the drum head, and then put like, just one little towel or, one of those Evans, blankets or pads, what they have, into the kick drum, and that should serve its purpose. Cool. But no rocket scientist. It's just, mainly those heads. I just kind of say like G2s mainly, and STs and EMATs.
Great. And is the snare wood or alloy?
That one I've used on the recordings. That's a good question. I think that one was probably a metal snare. It was kind of, what did we take there? But man, see, I always kind of have them send me a bunch of snares, and then I kind of pick the ones I like. And sometimes it turns out to be a metal snare. Sometimes it turns out to be a wood snare.
Yeah. Does it depend a lot on the venue and just how it sounds at sound check?
Too, I go by that rule as well. But right now, my favorite snare, what I can say, what I'm playing here is I have a whole Purple Heart kit at home. It's made of Purple Heart, DW Purple Heart.
Yeah.
It's an amazing sounding drum set, and 24-inch kick drum, then my regular kind of tom sizes, and the snare is a 14x6 Purple Heart. And, and I knew already that thing sounded pretty good because we did a sampling session a few years ago at Brother Studios in Ojai with Simon Phillips together. He recorded my kit together with this guy, Chris Ma. He's a great engineer for Steinberg, for the sample libraries, and for this new Fame, it's called, Fame, drum module for electronic drums, where Simon and my kits.
Oh, wow, Simon's that's great.
In it. But that was already when I tested out that whole Purple Heart kit, including the snare. And it sounds killer. And I remember like a friend of mine, Michael Lewis, he's a drummer as well. He's great. We were here together checking out different snare drums and miking them and listening to them. And that Purple Heart snare is fantastic. It has like this warmth of wood, but it also has like a nice crack and cuts through. So right now, that's the snare I'm using.
That's cool.
But again, I sometimes swap around, for what's needed in the songs. You know?
Yeah, that's great. What are your guys' plans? I mean, I know things are sort of still tentative and up in the air, but are you going in to record something new while you're waiting to be able to go back out on the road, or what are you guys talking about?
Yeah, with the Aristocrats, it's kind of a thing, you know. For now, we don't have. I mean, there are songs I have lying around as well, you know, where we could record and all these kind of things. But for now, I think, you know, we're just about to possibly pick up our tour, you know, and finish,
Great.
you know, finish what we started, so to speak, or kind of, you know, go to the places we haven't been on this cycle,
Yeah.
which we usually do, you know. So yeah, usually we kind of, you know, tour around the world. This time it was half the world, so we have to keep our promise and kind of go back and finish off the you know what tour. So and then possibly a new album, you know. But you know, we have all things going on, and especially I have this thing with Randy McStein, and you know, together the McStein and Minnemann thing, which I think turns out really great. And we will be doing some shows, and so yeah, that aside, obviously, you know. So, but yeah, that's of importance for me, because I think those albums turned like out really, really well, and we have a great chemistry.
Yep.
Yeah, and Aristocrats wise, you know, that live album will probably kind of, you know, hopefully get some great attention, and also let's say will be embraced by the audience warmly, and
yeah,
and then we'll go out again.
That's great. It's out, folks, as of May 7th, 2021. It's a fantastic album, and you heard some of it here. It's called Freeze, and just great music, great performing, lots of fun. It's a great dance album. You got to bring this to a party, a bar mitzvah, a quinceañera. If someone's having a brisk, you got to bring this with you for dancing, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. That's the. I love it.
Cool.
I love it.
Marco, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join me again here on Drum Talk TV. And whenever you have something to update us on, you know, just give me a buzz and we'll set this up again.
Sounds lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you, everybody, for following what we do here on Drum Talk TV. Thanks for joining Marco Minnemann and myself, Dan Shinder, here. And we'll be back with more fun soon. See you, folks.